You ready?
Here we are.
All right. This is Tim Gaynor with Coach, Develop, and Inspire. And this is the third podcast in my series, What's Your Story? And today I've got, a really special guest, someone I've known for probably longer than anybody that I've ever known in my entire life. My dad.
All your life?
Yeah, my dad. Yeah, you were there from the beginning. So thanks for willing to do this with us today. And for those, maybe this is your first time watching one of the What's Your Story podcasts, just kind of a reminder why I'm doing this. I do this because I think a lot of times in life, people go through life and they look at other people to compare their everyday with someone else's, what they can see, and they kind of feel like, hey, maybe, I'm the only one having to go through something. I'm the only one dealing with an issue right now, and everybody else has it so easy in life. And then you kind of feel bad about it. But what you find out in these series of What's Your Story is that everybody has issues, everybody's had difficult times, and everybody's had valleys that they've had to get through in life. So you're really not alone out there. There are people that have dealt with the same thing you have or something near what you have. And kind of hearing their story and how they maybe dealt with it and how they got through it, hopefully is an inspiration to you and kind of help you get through maybe what you're dealing with now. So again, thanks for watching today. And to turn review, when I was coming down here, I was getting ready to say, hey, so you're 73 and you're retired, but Mom mentioned that you're turning 76 soon. So I was off by a few years. So you're 75.
75, and probably in 2 months, if everything goes well, I'll be 76.
If things stay to plan, you'll
the plan is to make 76.
Good. And you're retired. So just kind of, what's kind of a normal week look like for you? What does a retired life look like?
Well, for me, I do a lot of shopping.
Wow.
I do a lot of shopping.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of TV watching.
Yeah.
I play racquetball twice a week.
And you're 75. You play racquetball twice a week.
And I'm 75, and when I do play, it's usually about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Each time. It's something has become easier for me over the years. I mean, I've been playing since 76. That's when I first started playing, and so I do that twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
I do some reading.
You do a lot of walking?
I do walk. I walk the dog at least once a day.
Mm-hmm.
The dog usually walks me quite a ways, but I do the walking. Periodically, I spend some time in the basement on the treadmill and the bicycle, just to keep a little healthier than I would if I didn't do that.
Yeah. So, a normal retirement life, enjoying not working.
It's funny. It's a two-sided coin. I enjoy not working. However, I do miss working. Mm-hmm. That's one of those things where if you're used to doing something since I was, 16 years old, by working and then steady Air Force work and then steady contractor work, mm-hmm. You get used to doing that and demonstrating some of your abilities. So I miss that part, mm-hmm. but I do like being retired. I do like that.
Right. So how long have you been retired?
It'll be coming up on 7 years.
Oh, wow.
I retired closely after my birthday, almost 7 years ago. So in about 2 months, it'll be 7 years. It just seems like just yesterday.
It felt like you've been retired longer.
But then it seems like 7 years.
It's like longer to me. All right, so you mentioned a little bit you were in the Air Force. So obviously before you retired, tell me about kind of your jobs, your career. What did you do for a living?
Well, in the Air Force, a transition into the Air Force. I was out of school, out of high school. I was working full-time, breakfast, lunch, dinner, supper, doing at a restaurant. And my best friend who had already gone in the Air Force had gone, and so I was just sitting on my front porch one Saturday, and went down to the recruiter and said I want to retire. I want to enlist in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. And the sergeant there almost jumped over the table and took my hand. He said, "Oh, come with me." Mm-hmm. And within a month, I was enlisted and in basic training in Texas.
What year was that?
1964.
1964.
It was July in the summertime. So I went to San Antonio, Texas in the middle of July Emphasis on the fact that the middle of July in San Antonio.
It's kind of warm down there. In
It was
July,
pretty
San Antonio.
warm. Yeah, it was pretty warm.
Yeah. So you had basic training down there, which basic training is still down there, I think.
Basic training is still down there.
Yeah. But I think they have air conditioners now.
I sure hope so.
Because you told me a story about how you stayed cool in your barracks.
We would lay under the bed because all the heat would rise. We didn't have air conditioning in the barracks, and so we would after we've made our bed, we would lay under the bed. So you're within like 8 inches of the mattress, but it was cool down there. So we would stay there until our next duty.
Yeah. So after basic training, so tell me about after basic training, or where did you go from there? What are some of the places that you were so lucky to have gone to in your career? Where did Uncle Sam? Where did Uncle Sam send you about?
They were really kind with me. My first assignment was in Washington State. And it was at Moses Lake, Washington. It was Larson Air Force Base, which does not exist anymore. It was after a few years, it was converted into a runway for Japan Airlines. But I spent there probably 2 years, and then they cleared out the base, moved all the planes to 2 different locations. I got an assignment from there to Turkey, Incirlik Air Base, Turkey. I spent 18 months as a young single guy. Had a lot of opportunities while I was in Turkey.
As a young single guy?
As a young,
what are you trying to say?
As a young single guy who was enjoying what he could.
Yeah.
We did a 9-day tour of Italy during that time. Took a lot of trips to the Mediterranean to jump on the ocean, into the sea. Had some significant things happen while I was in Turkey.
Yeah. That was in Turkey too.
No.
All right. So what's significance of Turkey? What happened?
Well, we lived in a barracks, had a roommate. My roommate was from Arkansas. He was from Little Rock, Arkansas. He was engaged. The girl he was engaged to was best friends with this other girl. And my roommate said, I think you should write her. And so you could just be pen pals. So I said, well, okay. So I started writing to this young lady. And
So what would the first letter start out? I know someone you've never met or talked to. What would...
I would just explain.
Hi, my roommate said I should write you a letter.
Yeah, who I don't remember, but I would assume it would be, hi, I'm me. I'm in Turkey. You're my roommate. Said to write you because you're a friend. Blah blah blah. And just sharing how I enjoyed Turkey. A little stretch there. And so we wrote back and forth for over a year. And during that time, I really was interested in this lady who I've never met. She did send me a picture, and I sent her. I believe I sent her a picture
Of you or someone else?
of me. Yes. And in spite of that, she kept writing. So when my tour was over, I was going to be reassigned to Travis Air Force Base in California. So while I was on leave between those 2 assignments, I took a bus down to Little Rock to meet her face to face.
So kind of paint this picture again. You're from upstate New York.
Upstate New York.
From a harsh Irish family, which we'll get to. Typical Irish family at that time.
Absolutely.
Upstate New York attitude.
Absolutely.
Going down to the south, Arkansas, not so much what you grew up with.
Not at all. I mean, I'm a
Fish out of water.
New Yorker, a cocky New Yorker who knew everything, was pretty conceited. And the young lady that I was going to go see was not that at all. I mean, she was a Southern belle, a real lady, something I was contrasting with when I was writing. So when I met her, finally, at the Little Rock bus station, I was very happy to see her. I was very pleased because she looked exactly like her picture.
She showed up, for one.
She showed up. She didn't,
That's good.
didn't say, I'm sorry, I can't make it. And we spent a few days there together. I spent my time. I stayed at the home of my roommate's fiance's house.
Who was a friend of this lady?
Yeah, it was kind of complicated. But then after my stay there, I was assigned to Travis Air Force Base in California at Fairfield. And that was in January of 68. 68, get my dates right. And we kept writing. And then in May of that same year of 68, I went back to Little Rock and we were married. So
I know her.
It didn't.
I think I know that lady.
It didn't take very long. We both sort of knew what we wanted and who we wanted. And it was just one of those whirlwind romances, as pen pals.
Yeah. So you guys got married.
Got married.
Have some kids in there. At least I know one of them.
We had some kids. I only stayed in California for 4 months, 4 or 5 more months, and I got out of the Air Force in July of '68. Was not a smart move. I should not have done that, but at the time, I'm not very smart. Went back to Little Rock. We lived in Little Rock for a year. I went to work for a refrigeration electric supply company. But some of the people that would come there for their supplies was Air Force persons from the Air Force base that was nearby. So I saw that and I thought, gee, I missed that. So I said, I'm going to re-enlist. So I went back to my recruiter and said, I want to re-up. And they said yes.
There's some things going on in the world that
they
would take you.
68, we need a body.
They need some bodies, yeah.
And so from there, we were stationed in Denver. And in Denver is when our second son was born.
So back in Little Rock, your first son, my older brother, was born, right?
Exactly. He was born in December of '68. Yeah. And we...
So he's the 50-year-old of the group, I think.
He's getting pretty old, yeah. He's getting pretty old.
I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah,
all right, so there then you moved to Denver, and then I came along. The world was changed, I'm sure.
I mean, it tilted just a little bit.
Turned it upside down, maybe.
Yeah.
So from there, and then maybe what are the other places that you were so lucky to live in?
Well, from Denver, I had a real good job working in a student squadron. My boss was a training instructor, a real hard-nosed kind of guy, and I worked directly for him. Unfortunately, we did not mesh. We had issues together. It was either going to be somebody's going to go to jail or somebody's going to get killed because we had a very bad relationship. So me and my...
And you still had your New Yorker attitude at the time?
Absolutely. I mean, it sticks with you. So my answer was, I need to get out of here. So I went up to personnel and said, I want to assign and volunteer for a remote assignment. They were happy to take me, and they were even happier to say, well, we're going to send you to Vietnam. It was your idea.
Meant to go, remote, I meant.
I didn't mean there.
I meant somewhere different.
I meant someplace like Hawaii, So Janet was not, my wife was not very happy about that. So I did go to Vietnam. I was there for a little less than a year, about 10 months. And the reason I wasn't there a full year is because my second son had acquired some physical difficulties.
And that would be on episode 1. If you want to know what's your story, go back to episode 1 and you'll know more about what he's talking about there.
Yeah. And so
after Colorado, you got back. Where'd you go?
After Colorado, went to Vietnam after Colorado.
Yeah,
and after Vietnam, went to New York, upstate New York, to
back to the stomping grounds.
Griffith Air Force Base. Yeah, it was nearby where I was born in Auburn.
Yeah.
Because we were at the base was at Rome, New York, which was only 30 miles or so west of where I was born. Was stationed there for almost 2 years again. And it came about that they needed somebody in Spokane who would do the same thing that I was actually doing. They needed a supervisor to go there. So I volunteered for that, and which meant I'd have to drive from New York to Spokane. So we would drive from New York to Arkansas, where
So they didn't even go direct.
did not go direct. Drove down to Arkansas, blew out an engine in my car. Had to get a new engine. Got a new engine, and drove up to Spokane. And when we got to Spokane, we had to stay in some temporary quarters. And my car engine was giving me trouble, so I took it to a garage, and the guy says, "Did you just recently have this engine replaced?" "Yeah, we did." "Well, the bolts holding down the engine were just finger tighted. They weren't ratchet tighted. So that's why your engine was giving you difficulty." And I thought, gee, I drove all the way from Arkansas.
Could have fell out any time.
I mean, any time I could have heard this big thump on the highway. But we got that.
You made it. So after Spokane, where'd you go?
After Spokane, we went to New Mexico. We drove down
To Albuquerque?
to Albuquerque. It took us like 6 days because of the bad weather that they were having in the local area by Washington State and Idaho. It took us a long time to get there. And I was stationed there at Albuquerque at the base at Kirtland Air Force Base.
About 4 years?
I was there from 74 to 78.
Okay.
4 years. Loved it. I mean, didn't like it at first because of the change of climate. We came from Spokane down to a desert, and it was hard to get used to the dryness. But beautiful assignment, beautiful state. Loved my job. Liked the people I worked for. That was really nice. After New Mexico, we were stationed in Wichita, Kansas.
It's hitting all the U.S. hotspots.
I mean, I'm hitting them. And I'm just going all the way around the U.S. And we spent
2.5?
about 2.5 years in Wichita. I loved my job that I had there. I had 3 different jobs and loved every one of them because they were easy and I wasn't very smart, so I made it really nice. I did get an assignment to Lindsay Air Base, Germany. So when we looked,
I said I'm sorry.
so when,
Which is actually your fault still.
so when we looked into the facilities there at Lindsay, we were looking for a pediatric cardiologist because our son had pediatric cardiologist issues. Previous show. So we said, well, we can't go there because of
wasn't it like in London or something you had to fly to, so there was no one local? Wasn't there no one local, so they wouldn't have fly out or something?
Well, they would have to fly us to Wiesbaden, which was not local. So we said, no, we can't go there. So they said, okay, we'll send you to San Vito, Italy. Oh, man, are you kidding?
It's your fault. It's your genes.
Are you kidding?
It's your genes.
So we said, well, how about the medical issues there? No, we can't do that either. Can't go there. Okay, so the Air Force is getting pretty tired of me saying no. So they said, okay, we'll send you to...
Somewhere just as nice. Somewhere just as nice as Italy, but local.
It was, we were assigned to Irakli and Greece. And I thought, man, Greece, I would love to go. Oh, wait a minute. Can't do that either. They said, all right, we're tired. We want you to go to Iraq and Greece for 18 months alone, unaccompanied, or 12 months unaccompanied to Greenland. See, 18, 12.
So unaccompanied means your family doesn't go.
No big, I just go by myself.
You have 2 young kids at home, and wife.
They're home, not really liking the idea. Excuse me. So I said, I'll go to Greenland. So I spent a year in Greenland.
Greece, Italy, Germany.
I know.
Greenland.
I know.
It's not green, is it?
No, it's quite different than it's like Iceland is not Iceland. It's very
So
green.
it's the story of how they tricked each other. Like Iceland is not ice, it's green, and Greenland's not green,
They
it's
know
ice.
they know what they're doing. So it's been a year in Greenland. Great assignment. I mean, I loved it there. I had a small group of guys that we really met for Bible study very often, and had a good job. I liked the job, liked the area. We did a lot of touring from there, a lot of flights from there to Iceland, along the coast of Greenland. Beautiful country, beautiful country.
A little cold?
Just a little bit cold during the wintertime when the sun goes down and you don't get to see the sun. We had like 23 to 30 below zero, and you don't go out much because
You lose body parts.
you lose, things drop off. And can't do that. So after Greenland, I went to Omaha, Nebraska, to Offutt Air Force Base, which was at that time SAC headquarters. Had a great job, worked with great people. We lived in base housing, which was really nice. Unfortunately, down a few miles away, there was a rendering plant, and the odor from there would drift over the base and the housing area, and it just stunk really, really bad. We had some real good friends while we were there, but that plant got really bad. And while we were there, I said, which was a controlled tour. I mean, it was a 3-year controlled tour, which you're not supposed to leave until your control is over. That never stopped me in the past. So what I did was I got on the phone and I called down to Randolph Air Force Base at the assignment section personnel and talked to a young man and asked him, man, if there's anything you can do to get me an assignment, and I'd love to go to the Air Force Academy. Just the best in the world.
Right.
He said, nah, I don't know. He said, let me call you back. So I waited a few more days and I called him back. He said, well, I got this guy who's in Korea. And we were going to send him to the Air Force Academy. However, we haven't notified him yet.
You took someone's job?
Yes, I did.
I didn't know that. That's rude.
So I said, if you can do anything, I mean, I'll come and wash your car if you want. And he said,
What happened to him?
Let me
Leave him in Korea? What happened?
let me call you back. So he did call me back. He said, well, I've put you into that job at the Air Force Academy. And I says, let me come wash your car, So we did that. And after Offutt, we got assigned to the Air Force Academy.
Which is Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Colorado Springs, right here. And my job was going to be working at the Commandant of Cadets office. I got a call from a lieutenant colonel and said, I've got this guy who worked for me who would really like to get out of the job he's in, and would you mind switching with him? He'll take your position up there at the cadet area, and you can have his position. Well, where is that? Well, it's in mortuary affairs. Mortuary affairs. What does that mean? So I said, I'll have to call
It'd be kind of a boring job.
I'll have
What kind of affairs do you have?
I'll have to call you back. So I did some research, looked up all the regulations concerning the job, and I said, I've never done that before. I could do that. It's kind of an administrative kind of job. It's not a matter of going out burying people hand to hand. It does involve that, but not directly.
You're not digging the hole.
I'm not digging a hole, and I'm not placing the remains in the ground. So I called the colonel back up and I said, I'll take the job, so we'll switch. So when I got to the Air Force Academy, I was assigned to the Mortuary Affairs office. And the weird coincidence thing is one of the guys I worked with somebody who I had worked with in Greenland. I mean, it's really a chance of a lifetime that he was in Greenland.
You didn't know he was there until you got there?
I didn't know he was there until I got there. When I sat there and he was in the next office, I thought, wow,
Nice.
I know you. So I worked at the Air Force Academy in mortuary affairs for 2 years, which was a very rewarding job because we just made all the arrangements for the burial. We made all the arrangements for the flyovers for those military guys who deserved flyovers. We made arrangements for the chapel services. We were in direct contact with the local funeral parlors. And
So you're able to use that job and obviously turn kind of a terrible or difficult situation into something as positive as it could be by making sure everything worked right.
Well, absolutely. And when you talk to the families after the services are over, they come up to you and almost hug you, and they say, this was a great service. So you can go back and you say, well, it really felt good.
Yeah.
That we were providing a service for a family, and they thought it was well done.
Yeah.
It was really well done. However, there is a light side that I can throw in here. Those people, those that have passed away, that military that are pilots, they are authorized to have flyovers with the aircraft that they were associated with. We had this one that was a B-52 pilot, and so he gets to have a B-52 fly over the gravesite.
For those that don't know, that's a good-sized plane.
It's a large bomber that was used primarily in Vietnam.
It's a huge plane.
So you had to know the geographics of the cemetery on the Air Force Academy, and
kind of bumps up to the foothills.
Yeah. So the airplane would circle south of the Air Force Academy and waiting for the word to come fly over the gravesite. So we would have a guy up in the trees, hidden on a radio, talking to the control tower, who was in turn talking to the pilot of the plane. So if you don't get it right, things can happen. So here we have, and everybody at the gravesite is backed to the south of the area where the plane is, so they don't see that. They don't see the behind the scenes. So we have this B-52 pilot that's being laid to rest. You have this guy up in the trees talking to the tower, talking to the pilot. And when we bring the casket from the hearse to the gravesite, it's supposed to be timed perfectly, where the plane comes right over the airplane, or over the site, as the coffin gets to the gravesite. So it's all timing. So I'm the one who's responsible to time that thing right. So I can see south where the plane is. I see him circling. So the casket, the hearse dries up. The pallbearers start lifting out the casket. So I give the notice to the guy in the trees.
Kind of like a twitch of the nose.
Whatever it takes, to let the pilot know, now you can come and fly over. So I'm standing there, and the pallbearers are walking slowly with the casket to the gravesite. And I'm thinking, he's not going to get here in time. So I try to tell the pallbearers to slow down their pace. And the chaplain is standing over the grave area. The plane is still coming. The casket is still moving. I'm thinking, he's not going to make it in time. So the chaplain starts looking at me like, I can't start until the plane goes over, because it's going to be too loud. I'm looking at the plane, he's still coming. And the pallbearers are saying, man, we can't walk any slower than this. So they finally get to the gravesite, lay the casket down on what's called a bier. And the chaplain looks at me like, can I start now? That's where I think, you can't start yet. You can't start. The plane's not coming yet. It's not here yet. So the chaplain says, I can't wait any longer. So he starts the service. And just as he starts talking, over the top of that gravesite comes this B-52, and you can't hear a thing. It's like watching somebody just move their lips, watching the chaplain. So when it's all over with, and we do a critique, me and the other people that I work with, do a critique of the service. The family is already starting to leave, and they come up to us and they say, "Oh, they just thank us for such a great service, and like we did such a great job," And knowingly, it was horrible. I mean, it was my fault because I didn't know how slow those B-52s will travel when they're not engaged in war. And so when I got back to the office, my boss took me aside and said, "Learn from this, Jack. Learn from this. Learn how fast or slow those planes move." But he was saying the family did love the service.
Yeah.
It's one of those very gratifying things, even though you think you've done a lousy job. It's up to the parents. It's up to the family to determine that.
Yeah. So, which is true. Most times, you're the only one that recognizes things that don't go exactly how you planned it. Other people may not notice that. So, spent a couple years at the Air Force Academy.
2 years at the Air Force Academy.
And then you went back to one of your favorite spots.
I got promoted.
Yeah.
And as the requirement for my promotion, I have to give them 2 more years. So, excuse me. So,
We'll cut that out.
So my options are to stay there at the Air Force Academy for 2 years, or go somewhere else. Another smart move on my part.
And you fell down, hit your head, and you
I
said...
did. I had a brain injury.
Instead of staying in the beautiful Air Force Academy, I'd rather go to...
Before you get there, the job that I would have there at the Air Force Academy would not be the same job I had working for Mortuary Affairs, because due to the promotion, I would outrank the position that I was in. So they said, "Well, we can give you a job up at the cadet area. However, there's already a man filling that position. It would just be doubled up." I thought about that, and
That sounds like government, by the way.
yeah, oh, absolutely,
Sounds like government.
absolutely.
They'd only need one per people to do the job, so we'll put 2 up there.
We'll put 2 in there, and we'll try to spread out the work so they're both happy.
No business. We'll do that.
No, I know. So I decided I'll just pick another base. Again, another smart move on my part. And I picked because I knew what Wichita was like, and I liked it there. The weather was pretty bad during the summertime, really hot. During the spring and fall, tornadoes, that kind of thing. But I was very familiar with the area. We'd been there 2 years. So I said, let's go back to Wichita. Went back to Wichita, to McConnell Air Force Base.
And that was after your family tried to hang you.
That was after they put out a warrant for my arrest. So went back there and had a job in a squadron that was what they call Red Horse, which is a mobile civil engineer squadron. They would go out to different places and build runways, build buildings, on a short notice. My job was in the training section, and we were responsible for training the mobile groups with war tactics. Something I wasn't that crazy about. So I went to my boss and I said, I'd like to transfer back into my other specialty, which was administration or information management. And the commander was under the influence of some liquid at the time. He was later fired, but I knew that he would say yes. So I went to him and said, I'll get back to my other specialty.
After you gave him a gift of liquid fluid. So I have a question now.
He already had it. But anyway, so he approved that. So I went back into my other specialty back on the other part of the base. And I had a great job. I mean, I really had a great job. But that was over with, and I had to come up with the 2 years over with and put in my papers, retired from the Air Force in '87, and moved back here to Colorado Springs.
So you moved back here, no job, retired from the Air Force for the second time. You got back here to Colorado Springs with 2 high school kids, right?
Yeah.
to high school. Well, one just finished high school. So John finished high school in Kansas, so
Yep.
college bound, and then I was going to my junior in high school. So you moved back here. So what'd you do then?
Well, transitioning from a secure job in the military, I mean, I always knew where I was going to be working, that I would be working, getting a paycheck, to civilian life. I figured, well, let me see if I can find a job that's similar to what I know to do. So I went to work for the Greyhound bus station. I always wanted to be associated with the travel business, I thought. Another smart move. So I went to work for the Greyhound bus station, working back from the counter. I didn't work at the counter, just in package delivery and that kind of thing. Liked it. Wasn't paying great, but it was an income coming in. And then they decided to put me on the counter to deal with customers. Not a smart move. Didn't like it at all, contrary to what I thought I would feel. So I remember going home and calling back to my boss and say, I can't come in tomorrow. I just, emotionally, I can't do it. Which really surprised me because I thought, I always wanted to be in the travel business, you know. So that didn't work out. So then I went to work for a janitorial company, and we did janitorial works at the county building and different other locations. It was an income.
And you were doing that as you're trying to find another.
And I'm doing that.
You're doing that to fill the gap. That's
I'm
not
doing
what
that
you're...
to get an income.
Sure.
Until I can find something that's stable, where I can use my the abilities I
So
have.
you weren't looking to clean bathrooms and open businesses for a career. You were doing that so you could apply for other jobs during the day.
And I had done that. I had sent my resume out to many companies, many government companies. They were civilian companies that had government contracts with the Air Force.
Well, the reason I say that is obviously you were doing what you had to do to still provide for your family while you were trying to find another career, shifting from the Air Force to this other career. You took a job that a lot of people would look at as in a low job. Janitorial, cleaning bathrooms in office buildings is not probably high on a lot of people's lists. So you did that to help support your family while you were trying to find another career.
Yes. And I finally did get a call from a company that said that the person that had been filling a position at their company had decided to quit. And so they said, can you come in for an interview? And I said, sure. So I went in for the interview. They said, well, we need somebody that deals with security. I said, well, I've done that. We need somebody to deal with tech orders, which is just, they're just military schematics, and information management. I said, I've done that. I mean, that's what I've done for the last 20 years. So he said, well, good. Let me make an offer. So he made an offer. I said, sure. I said, better than cleaning bathrooms. So when I went home, I told my wife, I said, I got a job. She said, funny you should say that because I got this letter in the mail today saying they couldn't use you. It was a thanks but no thanks letter that they sent out the day before. And so it was kind of funny how we crossed paths. I got the job the same day. They said I couldn't have it.
Quick to throw the letter, right?
I mean,
I got nothing.
I framed that letter for so long. It was just a good topic of conversation.
So you transitioned from multiple years and lots of years, 23 years in the Air Force, was it? 23?
22, but 23 for pay.
20, yeah. So in the Air Force. Now you've gone to contract government work, which is sort of like government work, but not in the government, being contracted through the government.
Yes, it was they contract with the government to do what the Air Force used to do.
Yep.
So we have, because it's cheaper and longevity for the employees is better. So I was doing exactly with this company the same thing I was doing in the Air Force. But it was a great transition. no training required.
Right.
Because I knew what I was doing.
And you did that, not necessarily with that one company, you worked for a couple companies contract. So how long did you do contract work in total before you retired? So 23, 22 and a half in the Air Force, and then...
Well, I retired 7 years ago from that. Yeah. So from 87 until 7 years ago. So it was about 23, 24 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you put in 48 years close to work?
A lot of time.
48. So looking at that, you painted a pretty good picture of, we're certainly not going to say it was all roses. Everybody has normal life issues to go through. But you were able to provide for your family. You worked. We never went without. We always had food. We always had clothing. We always were able to go visit relatives. So played sports. So had a relatively normal life, I think, is what. If you looked at that part of the story, you're like, well, that seems like a normal life. Had it together. Good for them. However,
comma.
So this is where we go with this series of what your story is. Let's go back before all that started. Let's talk about your childhood. So a lot of people is, their childhood's good and they get into adult life and it's a train wreck. And then a lot of people like you, quite a few people like you, maybe when they're younger, was more of the train wreck and then things got better as they got older. So maybe you said earlier you were from upstate New York. You were born in, you say...
Auburn, New York.
43?
43.
Okay.
It's hard to say that, isn't it?
Quickly subtracting numbers. So 43. I lived in upstate New York. And do you have siblings?
I had two sisters. One older. She was about 2 years older than I was. And then my younger sister is 7 years younger.
Okay. So you're born in upstate New York. And your parents were together, obviously, when you were born. Typical Irish family. You were 100% Irish. So obviously your parents are 100% Irish. Upstate New York, typical Irish family. So if you think about your younger childhood, I don't know, whatever age group you want to categorize that in, if you're looking back on it, how was that? Was that normal? What were some things that you dealt with as a younger child that you recall or were told?
Well, my dad was a machinist. So being a machinist, in order to work for a place for a long period of time, you don't get seniority. So if there's any kind of layoffs, you're probably the first ones to go. And then you have to go look for other work. So, and that was the way it was as he was 4 or 5 years old. I remember we had to move around a lot because he had to go to different jobs.
Take different jobs.
To use his machinist techniques and expertise. We did move around a lot. We moved within the Auburn area. I probably went to 4 or 5 different schools because we kept moving to different areas, and the area where you were in was not in the school district.
So was that more elementary school, 4 or 5 different elementary schools?
Yeah, this was all prior to 5th grade.
Oh,
I mean, this is all prior.
So you're moving every year.
Yeah, just about. My mother was a free spirit. She was a singer. She used to sing on the radio. In Auburn, there's a prison, which now is called Auburn State Prison. At the one time, it was a women's prison, and they always had these notorious women prisoners in there. And this one lady was named Cat Eye Annie. So my mother used to go to the prison and sing to the prisoners. And this one in particular, Cat Eye Annie, my mother would sit on her lap and sing to her. Then they changed it from a women's prison to a men's prison. But she was just a free spirit person. Unfortunately, both my parents drank. And my mother drank more than my dad did. It got to a point where my dad kept a journal, which I didn't find out until a few years ago, that he kept a journal of the early years of their marriage, and it was pretty volatile. I mean, I don't mean beatings, that kind of thing, but it's just they didn't get along, and it's probably because of the drinking. At one time, my mother had to go in the hospital for a nervous breakdown because of her drinking. Another
So how old
time.
were you? Do you remember how old you were?
Gee, probably
Under 10?
under 10. Yeah, under
Younger
10.
than 10,
Yeah.
at home, home
Maybe
life.
6
so
or
home
7.
life is you have both parents drinking quite a bit, and then at some point your mom has to go, gets checked in to a
When I
place
was-
to take.
Yeah, when
Take
I was
care of
about
yourself.
14, it got to a point where it got really bad. My mother was drinking so much that she would see things in the room that weren't there. And I remember specifically this one time where it was in the middle of the night, and the paramedics were called to come in because she was so bad. And I remember laying there in the bed and hearing the paramedics say, "She'll never see the sun come up." So they took her to a local hospital, I guess to detox or something. We did go to visit her there, and of course she didn't know anybody. She was seeing people in the room that weren't there and deceased relatives of hers. So apparently it cost so much. My dad could not afford to keep her in that hospital, so they moved her from the local hospital up to, this was in Niagara Falls. They moved her from Niagara Falls to a state hospital in Buffalo, where he kept her there. And I say he kept her there because it was intentional. He kept her there for about 4 years. During that time, my older sister,
So again, you're 14. You said 14.
14 when she went to the first hospital, yeah.
All right, so about 14 when he put her away for 4 years?
Well, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because during that time also, he thought that we couldn't live together in the house without our mother. So he decided to farm us out to our relatives.
Yeah, and that's where I was going. So you have no mother at home. You're the youngest, or the middle. You have a younger sister and an older sister.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
he decides.
He decided to have us live with our relatives back in Auburn, which is 150 miles away. So we have aunts and uncles back there that I went to live with one. My older sister went with another, and my younger sister went with a third.
So not only did you lose your mom, you got split up as siblings.
Yeah, we got split up. We're in the same town. We got to see each other, but
Okay.
but still, we didn't live together.
Your family unit's not intact.
Not intact. And so, with my mother in a state hospital for those years, we would go up and visit her. And my mother, being the kind of person she was, she would say, "What am I doing here? There are crazy people up here." And we said, "It's up to Dad. He's got to sign you out." And so my sister and I went back home, and we kept talking to our dad. "You got to sign her out. You got to bring her home." So finally he did, and he brought her home. And she didn't drink anymore. She knew better to do that, but she did smoke heavily. So the smoking got to an issue where she smoked so much that she got lung cancer, and she died of lung cancer in 72. And we had already, us 3 kids were already back home. She was there. My dad was there physically. Unfortunately, he decided that he did not want to live with us. He had
Picked up someone on the side?
it's a nice way of putting it. He found another person to share his life with. And he would come home from work, from being a machinist, change clothes, take a bath, and go. And he would go to his friend. And he did that, forever. And, of course, my mother...
So you get your mom back, but you lose your dad.
Exactly. And because the relationship between my mom and my dad was kind of very verbal, of course, he didn't like it. And he apparently didn't care because he didn't stop. He kept doing it. And then, I think it was 2 years later. I think it was in 64. So it's 60. About 64 is when I enlisted. And it's not a matter of I just had to get away. It was just an unconscious thing. I guess this is what I want to do.
So when you think of your childhood, What's like the first couple things that you think about comes to your mind? Because
it was normal.
Even though you painted it, maybe not under the normal umbrella. Obviously, some difficulties. I know it was worse than that. I guess in some.
It was. Looking back, of course, you say, "Gee, how did we even get through all that?"
Mm-hmm.
But because my sister and I, my older sister and I, took it upon ourselves. We're going to get through this.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be the parent.
Mm-hmm.
My older sister, she's going to be the parent, and I'm going to help her as much as I can. My younger sister, like I said, she was 7 years younger than I was, and so I think she got the brunt of it.
Sure.
Because she didn't have parents to raise her. She had an older sister, to raise her.
And you.
For
Good thing she's alive.
Yeah, for what I could do. But to us, it was just, this is the way it is, and we're going to have to do what we have to do to get through this.
Which is fair in the time, you're in the moment, you have no idea. You're like, well, this is normal, we'll have to make it through it. So what do you think now, knowing that that's probably wasn't normal? I mean, how do you look at it now?
Well, I look at it now because we had, we survived. Whatever we did, we survived.
So that answered the question. You looked at it as in surviving. I can't look at my childhood and say, "Oh, I survived, thank God." I just grew up. It was childhood.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people look back and go, "I survived." I think that answer says a lot about how you look at it.
I look at it because I hear a lot of stories from people that say, I am the way I am because,
sure,
I'm bad because they were bad and because they drank. I smoked because they smoked. I'm an idiot because they were an idiot. Although I did have some of those qualifications, those attributes. Stupid. Those are stupid, Mark. You would think I would have never started drinking, knowing my mother drank herself almost to death.
Yeah, and then your dad obviously drank a ton.
And my dad drank, but it's one of those things where it didn't affect him as badly as it did my mother. He probably didn't drink as much as she did. But I started drinking.
But your sister drank, your older sister.
My older sister drank. Yeah, and you would think that would not have happened.
Yeah. Growing up in that environment, you would think, you'd say, well, I don't want that.
You would think, I'm not going to do that. Look what it does. So I'm not going to do that. Well, that didn't happen because I did. I drank to a point where on 2 occasions I almost got killed.
Yeah.
I was almost shot when I was in Turkey. I was almost in a car wreck when I was in Spokane.
Your older sister drank how did she?
She drank, and because I think that she was shortchanged for growing up, because she had to take on the role of parent.
Sure, which is unfair.
Which is unfair. I think she wanted to get attention where she could, and she drank a lot. She had some friends that they went drinking one night early in the morning. It was about 3 a.m. Couple of friends. They were at a bar. 2 guys and another girl. They decided to get into a car and drive somewhere. And the girl decided not to go. She said, "I didn't want to go." So it was my sister and these 2 young fellows. Excuse me. They were driving, apparently speeding, and they did not observe a curve. Hit an embankment, rolled. And she was thrown from the car. And died of the scene. That was in 67. January of 67.
And so, obviously, not only being a sibling, but someone you kind of attribute to, you said earlier, of kind of almost being your parent.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We were, Joyce and I, her name was Joyce. Joyce and I were very close growing up, especially during that period of not fun times.
Yeah.
And I was in Turkey when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to come back from Turkey to attend the funeral. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was devastating. Because she was, in 67. I was 24. I was 23. So she was 2 years older than I was. So she was 25. You know, I mean, just starting,
young, yeah.
Just starting her life. You know, unfortunately, she just, yeah, it was an accident and could have been avoided.
Yeah.
You go drinking and the driver's apparently drunk. And then, and the two guys that were in the car were injured, but she was the only one that was killed.
So as you were kind of saying, kind of building that up of, you know, you wouldn't think, you know, you grew up in an environment where parents really weren't there. You really didn't get any parenting, and a lot of that could be contributed to obviously their relationship, but also to the drinking. And then you see your older sister drinking, and obviously you'd started drinking before then. But,
Yeah.
So yourself had started drinking, and where did that lead you to? If you think back to your, because I'll get to the end. You don't drink now, so kind of where did your drinking take you? You started saying about a couple times that you almost died because of your drinking.
When I was in Turkey is when I drank the most. We would go to the Airmen's Club and drink, and then from the Airmen's Club back to the barracks, because we're in Turkey. There was a Turkish soccer field in between from the Airmen's Club and the barracks. So rather than go down the street and we would cut across the soccer field. Well, adjacent to the soccer field was like a Turkish base exchange. And at night, they would post a Turkish guard there out front to prevent people from breaking in and stealing things. So normally we would just go from the Airmen's Club, you know, drunk, down the street to this corner and then up the street to get to the barracks. Well, this one night I thought I was pretty clever, and I'm not going to walk down there. You can't stop me. I'm going to walk across that field. Well, they had put these wooden horses to prevent you from going across because we had made a path, you know, over the months across their field, and they didn't like that.
So wooden horses are just barriers.
Just a little wooden barrier.
I'm not sure I've heard the term wooden horses. So I just
No.
wanted to clarify that for anybody else listening. That it's just a barrier.
So I walked.
Could be a wooden
I mean,
actual horse,
you could walk.
but it's just a barrier.
You could walk around it, but
Sure.
the
point was don't go.
The point was don't go across this field. Well, you can't tell me what to do. So I walked up to the barrier, and as a sign of defiance, I started climbing over the barrier. Well, as I did that, the guard that was over the building turned and looked at me and pulled his rifle off his shoulder and aimed it right at me and told me to stop. Well, luckily, you know what alcohol is. Sometimes if you have so much, you can just black out. Well, that's apparently what I had done. I had blacked out, and the next thing I remember, I'm down the street leaning up against a tree because I didn't go across the field. Smart move. That was close. That sticks in my mind. I mean, did I stop drinking from that? No. I just brushed that off. It was a big deal. When I got stationed in Spokane, in the squadron we were having, we used to have exercises, and we would receive messages as to the status of the exercise. And one message we received was, we are about to receive a direct hit. So we would type back and say, we are now moving to our ultimate location.
So just an exercise, not really going to.
It's not real. No, it's just strictly
you're practicing what would happen if you did.
That's all.
Yeah.
And then the next message we received, alternate location gets direct hit. So our part of the exercise is over because we're dead.
So in the exercise, you die. Yes.
Yeah, we're dead. So in order to celebrate that, we decide to go, and this is about 10:30 at night. We decide, well, let's just go celebrate. So between the base and the airport, there's a long street, long road of a whole bunch of honky-tonks, bars. So we're going to hit every one of them. So we hit every single bar.
So people call that bar crawling now.
You hit bar.
That's called a bar crawl. So
Okay.
you were doing that 40 years ago. Okay.
We were doing that.
Gotcha.
So whatever you want to call it, that's what we were doing. So as we did that, the office where I came from was still receiving messages about the exercise. So because there was nobody there to receive the message, they would transfer that call.
Which in real life you wouldn't have been.
They would transfer that call to whoever's on a listing to receive this message, which would be at my house. So my wife would get these messages saying, whatever. Well, she would say, my husband's out here. He's at work. No, he's not. So she had no idea where I was. So she's getting pretty upset. She had no clue where I was. So we hit all these bars between the base and the airport. We get to the airport at the Holiday Inn, and we keep drinking. You know, so I'm pretty lit. So when we get down, we say, it's time to go home. So just about 2 o'clock in the morning now. So between the base and the airport, there are 2 roads. One is eastbound, one is westbound, and then in between there's a dirt median. So when we come out of the airport, instead of going into the westbound lane, we go into the eastbound lane, facing traffic.
That's smart.
Yeah. So as we're going down, and we're driving, we see all these headlights coming in our direction. So we decide we're in the wrong lane. So we scoot over through the median and get back on the right lane and get back to the base. And because I'm driving with our squadron commander, when we approach the base gate, front gate, and the guard there, he would be in a lot of trouble, my commander, if he appeared drunk. So he tells me, don't breathe. So we drive through the base, we park at where the office is, and I walk home. So when I get home, where you been? I was at work. No, you weren't. Yeah, I was. No, you weren't. So anyway, that moment of seeing those headlights. I mean, this was in 1972. That moment told me, this is stupid. This is stupid. So I quit drinking cold turkey. And the problem with that is when you're in the military sort of encourages drinking. They have parties all the time. You know, they have an NCO club, an airman's club that provide drinks. And whenever you have like a baseball game, there's always a keg of beer. So that was very difficult. However, I weighed the differences. I weighed, do I want to have fun and go back to drinking, or do I want to keep alive? You know, so like I said, I just quit cold turkey.
And you skipped over, maybe intentionally. You probably did some drinking in Vietnam.
Yeah, we did. Again, it's like going.
Because the pictures I've seen of you in Vietnam, you never looked happy, which I don't imagine.
Well,
It's not a.
It wasn't a happy place. The odd thing is the barracks we were in, that we were housed in, it was at a dead-end street. That dead-end street was where the 68 Tet Offensive had occurred. That's where they came in. So when I first got there, the guys who had been there a while said, oh, by the way, this is where the Tet Offensive started. Well, that's not a thing you want to hear.
Right.
You know, and we did drink a lot. We go to the club. Drinking, coming home from the club and getting to the barracks. Between the barracks and the sidewalk, and then there's a the outdoor showers, there's a ditch for runoff. Well, when it rains a lot, which it did, you don't know how deep that ditch is because the water is level with the sidewalk. Just one night I was coming home and didn't know where the sidewalk ended and the ditch started, and in I went. And again, that was before going to Spokane, so that was during my still my drinking time.
Yeah.
I'd show you how another. Not the brightest light bulb. I once told my wife to shut up, straight to her face, in front of her friends when I was drinking. And she told me then, don't you ever tell me to shut up. Yeah. It's one of those things you check off on your list of, these are the things that led me to stop being so stupid, you know, and be a little smarter than you were.
So, I mean, again, you've done a good job of telling the story of your childhood was not, again, you almost can categorize it as I survived it, which kind of tells the story of what you kind of felt about it, even though in it you weren't quite thinking of it that way. Looking back, you're like, I survived. I can't believe I did it. You've said it a number of times, I can't believe we did this. I can't believe that happened. I can't believe they would do this to us. I can't believe they would even think that. But they did. And then you started kind of going down that same path. It seemed like you got a family and you're starting to drink, and like you even said, you know, how does that work? Well, you weren't at work, you're out drinking. So kind of starting to go down that same road, and obviously part of it clicked into you of, all right, here's some things that have happened, like, man, this could have ended bad. I don't want that. And then obviously I think, you know, had some good conversations with your wife at some point too, going, it's us or it's that as well too, you know. So it's not only you're kind of getting it in your head like, I don't want this. She kind of gave you an ultimatum, I think, at some point.
Absolutely.
Of going, you either stop drinking and we'll stay, or you keep drinking, or we're out. So transitioning that, and again, we already talked at the very beginning of it. All right, you had a 40-year career, you provided for your family, they had a normal upbringing. So besides those, what else do you contribute to? Because you, like you said, there's a lot of people out there that keep going down that path, even though you look at it and going, why would you do exactly what you know is terrible? Why wouldn't you run from that and do the exact opposite of that? Now, it took you some time to figure that out. You said you figured a little bit out yourself. Then obviously your wife, my mom, kind of helped you with a little bit of that decision to push you maybe over the edge. You go, no, this is what we're going to do, or you're doing it by yourself. So how would you, someone else listening to this, watching this, of whether it's what you went through or something, or they're just kind of stuck in, and they feel like, I had this happen and I can't get out of this, of taking over my life. Yeah. Because it could have taken over your life, and you just, 30 years down the road, you could have been single. You could have been drinking.
Absolutely.
You could have been without your kids and your wife. A lot of people have done that. So what are things that you contributed to getting you shifting from that, besides seeing headlights coming right at you? What are things that which is a great metaphor of kind of, the lights can come at me, then I'm not going to be able to see. Yeah. Shifting from that type of lifestyle on the road that you're going down based on a terrible childhood, which you cannot undo. You cannot undo that, but it still lives with you. What are things that you contributed to get you past that might help someone else who's dealing with something?
Okay.
And I ask, so you can lay it all out there. Besides your wonderful second child.
Well, that was primary. And that was, during that time, I was not a very happy person with myself. Internally, I was. People said there's just something missing. Mm-hmm. I can live and do all these things, but because of the way I was raised in an upstate New York Irish Catholic family. Mm-hmm. So we knew about God, and I thought, in one time. Both my wife and myself.
Because she was brought up Catholic too.
She was brought up Catholic too.
Probably more Catholic.
Oh, absolutely.
She actually attended Catholic.
She went to Catholic school.
She went to Catholic school.
Yeah.
You maybe went on
She was more of a saint than I was.
Yeah.
But there was just something wrong with me. And of course, I thought I could fix it.
Yeah, I love what you just said there, because in my coaching business on the side, the words you said, I hear almost every single time I talk with someone. I was missing something. I didn't like myself. There just wasn't something there. I was living, but I wasn't living. Yeah. So I love what you said there, because I hear that all the time, and I can guarantee many, many people listening to this too are feeling the same way. I was going, yeah, I'm missing something.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where I recognized that. I didn't know what it was, so I figured I'll just stop doing things. I've already stopped drinking. I used to have a very colorful language, vocabulary. I'll say, I'll just stop cussing and swearing and telling dirty jokes. I'll just stop doing that, because it'll take care. So
based on your Catholic upbringing, that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to do this, you got to do this. You check the boxes off, so that made sense. You're like, okay, I got to stop this, stop this.
Because that's all I knew.
Yeah, of course.
That's all I knew to do.
Absolutely.
So I started doing that, and that didn't work. So we would go to. We got disillusioned with. Our spiritual growth. So being Catholic,
or lack of spiritual growth.
Yeah. So we decided, well, one day we'll just do the unthinkable. We'll go to a Protestant service at the base chapel. And it was...
Good thing you're not in Ireland anymore.
Easter. And it was, I think it was Easter, a candlelight service. And when we were there, we just noticed the people that were there seemed different. They seemed content with themselves. And it just drove us nuts. I mean, what is this? I mean, what have they done to get them to that point where they're just very pleasant, we were jealous. We were jealous. And so we would talk to them, and they would talk to us, and they would very freely and openly just talk about Jesus. Well, we knew who Jesus was, little baby Jesus, Christmas, we knew that. But they seemed to know him, as an adult. So that kind of confused us. Another time, I was working on base, and I went to get to this printing office to get some things printed. And I must have had a great attitude, because the guy behind the counter said, "Well, you seem like a pessimist. Have you accepted Jesus as your Savior?" Well, that just threw me off my shoes. So I said, "Well, sure." Of course, I lied. "Well, sure." So then I wanted to get out of there as quick as possible, because I figured he might ask me some more questions. So I got my business done there and then left. Well, that just tormented me. I mean, what is he talking about? We had some neighbors that were just dear friend neighbors. And they went to a Baptist church. They invited us to go to their church, because the church was having this program of trying to get a new family Bible. The more people you can invite, you'll win a family Bible. Ulterior motives.
Not necessarily what you want, but okay.
We didn't know. And we went there. And during the service, the preacher was named, I just lost his name, Ron Comfort. That was his name. He was partly blind, but he had memorized most of the Bible. Unbelievable. I mean, he could, without looking at his Bible, he would just spout verse after verse. And he reminded me, and I say me because I was the only one in that room next to my wife, but there was nobody else in that room that I knew of, even though it was packed. He was speaking directly to me. And he said, this world's going to end. And you're going to have to make an account for your life. And he looked right at me. He said, "Are you ready?" So that made me even more nervous.
Who me?
Yeah. Who are you talking to? And I think I said out loud, "No, I'm not ready." He said, "You can be." So I'm getting clammy, and I'm getting nervous, and I'm holding the front of the pew in front of me. He says, if you just come backstage, there'll be a man back here that can talk to you. And you can know for sure today that you're ready. Uncontrollable. I just walked my way out of a pew, went to the right, went back to the other room, not knowing my wife had gone up this way to another room.
Mm.
He went back there and explained some scriptures to me about, what Jesus had done for me, my sins. That I didn't have to do them. I didn't have to, account for my sins. I didn't have to do anything to absolve me of those sins. He had done that at the cross. And all I had to do, by faith, believe that and receive God's free gift of salvation. Mm-hmm. So I said a prayer. And it's unexplainable, the difference, the change that I felt after that. So we both went home after the service and explained what had happened. We tried to explain what had happened. But something had changed. Mm-hmm. I mean, I still got dressed the same way, still had a great head of hair, still lived in New Mexico, but things were different. I saw things differently. I felt things differently. Mm-hmm. It's like that verse, I was once blind, but now I see. Mm-hmm. I saw things that I never saw before. Things seemed more real and more, I understood things more. So that was kind of different for me. And then we believe that God provided another neighbor for us to train us up. And they were very strong Christians. And even though we still had our habits, they just went away. Mm. One by one, they just went away. And they were replaced by this feeling, this feeling of contentment, which reminded us of the group of people mm-hmm. at that pastor's service. Right. I thought, I've got what they had.
Yeah, and part of that's a good point, though. Your habit went away and it was replaced by, because to be honest, habits don't go away. You just change what you end up doing. So if you have a habit of drinking because whatever was the thing that started you to start drinking, that trigger is not going to go away. You just fill it with something else. Yeah. So that piece there triggered and something else filled with it versus drinking or doing what you normally would have done.
And it's one of those things where, growing up as Catholics, at the time, we were never taught to read the Bible. Mm-hmm. We were instructed what the Bible said, mm-hmm. from what they said it said, but we were never taught to read it because it was so difficult to read and understand. Mm-hmm. The individual person shouldn't do that. That's why we have the hierarchy in they're going to teach us.
Catholic Church.
They're going to teach us. Mm-hmm. But we found out that we could read it for ourselves and understand it, and it made sense. Mm-hmm. It's just a remarkable, mm-hmm. That's a good word, remarkable transition from I once was blind, but now I see.
Right.
And that has just, changed my life completely. Mm-hmm.
So you would contribute that to, how you at that point became a better husband. I would hope.
I would hope.
Yeah,
I would hope.
And how you raised your kids. They were young, so it's not like you knew exactly how you might raise them when they were young, but yeah, you certainly could. Again, if you kept going down the road that you were going down, it would only be fair to go, I'd probably end up doing what my parents did with my kids, and you weren't.
Yeah, the motivation would be different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would see things.
There's an end game.
I would see things differently,
yep.
and it's one of those things. It's a learning process. Mm-hmm. As a parent, there's no school. Mm-hmm. You have to learn as you do. It's OJT, and you hope that you do it the right way. And I agree. I think had I not had that conversion experience, there's no way of telling. we probably wouldn't be sitting here. We probably wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah. And part of that too is, just because of your conversion and your faith, that didn't change the fact that you still had to make choices.
Oh, absolutely.
It wasn't a magic conversion. Oh, now I don't want to drink now. Oh, I never feel like doing it. Or I never feel like doing this. Or I never feel like doing that. That's not there. It's still there.
Absolutely. It's still there.
So you still make a choice. So where I'm going with this, obviously, you and I are on the same page from a faith perspective, really gives you a different perspective on life. It doesn't take your life from difficult hardships to a perfect Disney story. There are still choices, but like you said, you do see things differently, and there is some spiritual support to try to get you through that, but you still made choices. You chose not to do things.
Absolutely. I mean, as growing up, you make choices based on what you've been taught or your environment. Mm-hmm. And I did that through my adult life until I was like 35. Mm-hmm. And even after that, I still have to make choices. Mm-hmm. But my motivation is different. Mm-hmm. My set of values are different.
And those choices are based on what you just said, your values. So other folks' choices are based on, again, their current values, which may be skewed based on what they know.
Yeah, yeah.
And where I'm going with that is people that are maybe in difficult situations and trying to get out. And, maybe at this point, religion's not the right thing for them. However, you still have a choice today to get up and choose to do something today.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You still have a choice because when you said, I was going to stop drinking, you weren't a Christian at that point.
Not at all.
So you made the choice. And since that day, you've had, one glass of wine in 40 years? 2?
I think I've had one glass of wine.
One?
Yeah, I think.
Since that time?
Yeah.
So that was before you made your conversion religion. You still made a choice.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, my parents were alcoholics, so that's just who I am.
That's just who I am.
That's him.
Yeah.
And we can't answer for anybody. We just answer for ourselves. And at that point, though, you still made a choice going, I'm done. And you were done.
Yeah.
So you made that choice as well. So obviously you're getting you from where you were, shifting lanes, getting you down on a different lane. And for you, of not dwelling in the difficultness of the survival of your childhood, allowed you not only your own thought process, I don't want this, but then having that conversion in your religion of, I'm living for a different reason now.
Yeah.
There's a different reason that I'm living for. And as you said, you see things differently. And if you see things in the world differently, then you act differently. How you act, how you think is how you do.
Yeah, it's funny how, I've tried to analyze my life several times of thinking, why did I do that? Why did I choose that? And I know that as an adult, early on, I said about my dad, I said, I would never do that. Mm-hmm. I would never abandon, because that's what he did.
Sure. And you didn't.
And I would never drink. Yeah. But I did. Bad choice. Mm-hmm. It was a choice. But I do look back, I think, I should not have come this far. Yeah. I should not have, I don't want to say evolved, that's almost a dirty word, but I have not evolved to where I am now. Mm-hmm. I should not have. There are things that should not have happened and did happen. So, and I attribute that to something that I believe, that God had his hand on me. Mm-hmm. Both me and Janet. There's no logical reason that her and I had got married. None whatsoever. Mm-hmm. However, God worked it out.
Yeah, who puts a Yankee down in the South? Seriously. You
and then stay.
You just don't do that.
Yeah, I know. And then they stay together 51 years. Who would have thought that? The funny thing is when we decided to get married, and Janet told her friends, they said, "We're here for you if he gets ready. We're here for you. You can come back. We know he's not going to." And her parents didn't like me. They know that he's a Yankee. You're kidding? He's not going to last.
He's from the enemy north.
He's from the enemy north. Yep, yeah, absolutely.
So I think in hopefully you remember you telling me this is maybe kind of a way to wrap this up. Of just when you have a different perspective, different values, you look at things differently, maybe not short term, but maybe long term. And you just mentioned you guys have been married 51 years. That's amazing.
It is.
I had someone, we were getting an Uber ride the other night, and I was telling him I was married 26 years. He about fell over. I'm like, oh, that's not very long. It's long, but my parents married 51. So this day and age, that's rarer and rarer.
Yeah.
So you had told me something years ago. I think I'd ask you, what are the keys to marriage? Which is funny, that guy in the Uber driver asked me, he said, all right, I'm getting remarried to my second wife. What are some keys that you guys got married or stayed so long? And I think I asked you that years ago. And you said something which I think really defines kind of how your perspective was on things. Hopefully you remember it. If not, I'll feed it to you. You guys get in arguments just like anybody. It wasn't, again, it's not a Disney movie. You do get in arguments, you have fights. There's days that, like, I'd rather not see you. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's normal. So how did you get through that, through your marriage to be 51 years?
Man, I don't know. We've talked about this so many times that our marriage probably would not have lasted, but God.
Mm-hmm.
We talk things out. You have to admit when you're wrong, and for me, it's hard to admit when I'm wrong because I know I'm always right.
That must be hereditary.
My dad had said, I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a arrogant way to look at things. But, I've had to, suck it up and admit I was wrong after calming down, cooling off. But we talk.
Mm-hmm.
We talk things out. And we talk about things that bother us.
So you don't keep things inside?
I do, but not for very long. Yeah. Because I know that I need to let it out. Mm-hmm. I know I need to, we had a real good talk yesterday, as a matter of fact. I hold things in because, I'm proud.
Yeah.
And I need to get rid of that pride so much and just admit I'm wrong and move on.
So why do you talk it out, though? What do you... It's like, I got to talk this out, or what's your end game with we're talking it out because?
We are one. Mm-hmm. We're not two separate people. We are two separate people, but we're one. Mm-hmm. There's an old joke, of divorce never, murder yes. That's not really that funny, but divorce no. Mm-hmm. There's no option. Yeah. There's just no option of running away. Yeah. It's not on the table. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's conscious or unconscious because my dad did it. He did run away from us. Mm-hmm. Ran away from his wife when she was probably needing him more. And I probably said unconsciously, I'll never do that. Mm-hmm. Whatever it takes, I'll never do that. Yeah. You may not like me. You may have papers drawn up, but I will never leave you. Never.
I think how I remember you saying it is, I do the things in between because I think of the bigger picture, the longer game. And if I'm married forever, I got to make sure the things along the way work out.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I'm always looking at the end game, the end result here, we're not leaving. We're together. Yeah. I need to do these things today.
What do I have to do?
What do I have to do today? What do we have to do today to make that work? And that's what I told the guy in the cab. I said, well, my wife and I have, there's no out. There's no out. So if I know there's no out, I act differently.
Absolutely.
And if I know, if I think there's an exit, then I'll act differently too.
It was very wise that somebody told you that.
Yeah, that was wise. So I use that all the time. When people ask us what we do, and it really Ginger's on the same page. There's no out. And if there's no out and I'm in it, I'm going to do things differently than if I think there is an out. So, anything else that we missed that, again, anybody listening that you feel might be beneficial to them going through difficult times, whether it's something you went through or it really doesn't matter. A difficult time is a difficult time. And feeling that feeling of I'm alive, but I feel empty. I don't like myself. I don't know myself. I feel stuck. I need to find some traction. I need to move. I want to live the life that I want. and then as we believe you were made to live. You know, what's something maybe we didn't have? You want to, a couple things you want to share?
I wasn't thinking about anything until you said that each of us has abilities, talents, and personalities. We're all different. What's great about being in the Air Force all that time and have those different jobs, I get to meet a whole bunch of different people, you know, and all their different personalities. And each one is unique. I mean, there's nobody like you. There's nobody like you.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, and God has given me certain abilities, not necessarily talents, because like I said, my dad was a machinist. My grandfather was a laborer, and I know nothing about that.
You can't put anything together.
I can't put. I'm not a carpenter. I'm not an electrician. I'm not a plumber.
And that's why I don't fix things either.
Absolutely. But I can cope. I can do whatever I have to do. God has gifted me with a funny bone. I see things sometimes that are comical, that may not be comical, but I have that perspective. I see things funnily.
We'll give you that as a word.
Yeah,
we'll give you that.
But other people, you can glean from other people things that they offer you that you don't have. You know,
don't do life alone.
No, yeah, absolutely. Write that down. Make a sign.
Thanks.
Don't do life alone. I like that. I'll have to use it sometime. I can play racquetball. I'm pretty good at racquetball. Of course, it depends on who I play. But I think I'm
How many times have I beaten you? Once?
We're not. Yeah. Good thing we're not talking about ping pong.
Yeah, ping pong.
Forgot about that.
I own you.
That's a little different.
The student has become the master.
Yeah, just be, and I think you've said this, be who you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, excuse me. Because if you try to be somebody else, or you try to mimic somebody just because you like the way they behave and the people react to them, then you're missing out. Be who you're supposed to be.
Yep.
And be happy with yourself. I mean, I've come to really like me.
Yeah. That's important. That doesn't mean you like everything you do.
Oh,
it doesn't mean you like everything you do, but as a whole, you understand who you are. You understand you're a human. You're fallible. You're going to make mistakes. But end of the day, your self-value, your self-worth, and anybody is the driver, in my belief, the driver to you being able to do anything.
Yeah, I agree. And I have 2 great kids. Because
well, thank you. We'll wrap it up with that. I appreciate you taking time sharing your story, and obviously not always easy to do, even after all these years, but appreciate it. And I hope those that are watching again kind of feel some sort of connection to my dad and his story about things that he went through in life, that he made choices, or he found ways to get out of that and move forward in life. And as we said, some of the key things are, find who you are, live who you are, don't do life alone, and understand there are options out there to help you through it. And you're not alone. You are not alone. You're not the only one feeling what you're feeling. Many people have gone through what you've gone through, and many people are more than willing to come alongside of you, partner with you, pick you up, and help you get some traction and move forward in life. So hope you enjoyed this segment of What's Your Story. And until next time, Tim Gaynor with Jack Gaynor, otherwise known as Dad, from Coach Develop and Inspire.